my grandma always telling this story of during the Depression, which was, she was in her, I don't know, 20s or 30s or something in the Depression. And how right at Christmas time, they got a tangerine and some new pantyhose. And that was like the whole of their, right, Christmas stocking. Like, this is what you got. And I guess I was just thinking about, right, the trauma that must have been experienced during those times of really like having a tangerine is like, that's sustenance. That's like huge for people who also may not even have enough food. So I get, right, like, those experiences affect all the generations. And that's just, it's mind boggling that even happens.
And the tangerine could actually be a big gift in that kind of an environment. But what I found in my own family system that's come down the line as part of that too is a sense of less support for the family, for the children, for the systems, especially emotional support. And that's where we start to think about complex PTSD. In a way, there's like a form of emotional neglect that can happen in environments like the Depression, the pandemic, where if there's enough stress going on for the parents that they can't regulate, then it comes down the pike to the children or the next generations too. And so these are things that we've really underestimated. That have a big impact. And so the fight flight response is number 4. Number 5 is, I learned this from a neurologist, Dr. Robert Scare, who got turned onto the whole concept of trauma well into his career. And he started to say, it's a nervous system issue, not a tissue issue. And so we tend to think if it's PTSD or complex PTSD, that means it's mental illness and psychologically related. If it's a chronic illness, it must be biological, and it must be a specific different cause for every different illness. But if you take that step back and you think about it as a nervous system issue, you start to see there too how trauma is influencing the HPA axis, the stress response, the cortisol response, but then it influences every tissue as well. So I thought of that as number 5. And number 6 came from the ACEs, the Adverse Childhood Experiences research. And when Oprah learned about ACEs, she really started talking about the concept that it's not asking what's wrong with you. It's about what happened to you.
Right.
And she was kind of really blown away by that concept. And now there's something emerging about what's right with you. So there's an evolving process as we start to, in more and more communities, start to learn and understand what trauma really is. So I think about number 6 and Oprah as that it's not your fault. And people still get that in all kinds of healthcare situations and by family members and friends and colleagues, thinking that if they've got symptoms or they're having trouble with something or that they're weak or that it's something that they've done or not done.
Yeah, it's so interesting. Like one of the pieces of language I hear a lot is like, I'm broken, or I've had, something has happened and I'm just broken. And I'm like, gosh, it's like, right, like we've all had traumas and some way more significant than others, but yeah, it's something that happened in our bodies, right? Like that's what's so fascinating about what you're talking about, right? Our bodies react in certain ways for our survival. And if it's stuck in the way for survival, then yeah, it's no wonder we have these symptoms or are going through what we're going through or have struggle in relationships or, all that kind of stuff. It's fascinating. So I love that. Like, what's right with you, right? Like, that's so beautiful.
Exactly. And from that place, you can even start to think of symptoms as intelligent responses to something that was too much or that was overwhelming, which is ultimately a brief definition of trauma, is something that was overwhelming and that we could not overcome. So we had some event that led us to freeze because we couldn't escape using fight flight. And so there was some degree of helplessness or hopelessness. And so, yeah, there's really a beautiful evolution happening. And again, the science is starting to show us that these are intelligent responses and that they can show us the pathway home. And it sounds like a lot of the others who are speaking here are talking about very specific tools that people can use to get better because we're working from that nervous system perspective. or the health of the system and the mind body and how everything's actually joined and connected,
Yeah.
and wants to heal and is designed to heal.
Yeah, that's really beautiful thinking of it that way, right? The symptoms are these really, God, I don't know, stepping stones or crumbs, right? Leading us to,
Yeah.
right, the path to healing and right, like, yeah, when I think of it as like the body, like giving you a sign of something's going on and needs to be addressed, I think that's just kind of a beautiful way to, like, I guess, reconnect with the body and its intelligence and what it's trying to tell you.